All right, guys, it's paranormal time again. I'm Ryan.
And I'm Brittany.
And this is
Pure
Malice into the Paranormal.
Into the paranormal.
Ooh. When true crime isn't enough,
we cross into the unknown.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us for another episode. This week we'll be covering the Greenbriar Ghost. We are really interested to know if you have ever heard of this case before, because until recently, we hadn't. Well, I hadn't. Had you, Brittany?
I feel like, I've probably heard about this before.
It's really an interesting case. So send us an email to puremalicepodcast@gmail.com and let us know if you've ever heard it or if you have any personal experiences with the paranormal and would like to share it with us so we can share it with our listeners. Send us your story. There's something especially intriguing about this case because true crime and the paranormal really collide here. And the deeper you get, the more shocking it becomes. It's filled with morbid death, disturbing accounts, and otherwise all-around spooky events. Listener discretion is advised.
So what happened first, the true crime portion or the spooky event?
The true crime. True crime and then the spookiness. All right. So the Greenbriar Ghost is a truly fascinating story with some very creepy details. Her case remains to this day a one-of-a-kind event in the American judicial system, the only case in which the ghost helped to solve her own murder and convict a murderer.
This is the only one ever? They use paranormal people all the time.
This is the only one that's documented in the judicial system. You'll see in the end why it's the only one.
What's that show that's he pretends like he's a medium or a psychic, but he actually isn't? He's just really good at what he does, but he's goofy.
There's two of them, right?
No, there's
two men.
Two men.
I don't know the name of it, but I know what show you're talking about.
And he pretends like, oh, I know.
Yeah.
But he's actually really good at being a detective.
Yes, I know what show you're talking about, but I don't know the name. But in 1873, a young woman named Elva Zona Hester, who went by her middle name, Zona.
Elva or Zona? I mean, I'm not making fun of her. She's dead, right?
She did.
Okay, I'm not making fun of her, but I mean, if you had to choose.
Elva?
Zona, yeah, I think I would go. I don't know, Elva. You start thinking, what does it rhyme with?
I'm just thinking of like Elvira. She was born in West Virginia in the county of Greenbriar. Not much is actually known about her life before she met her husband in October of 1896. But she met a man named Erasmus Stribbing Trout Shoe. He was a drifter, a widower, and admitted horse thief whose previous wife died under mysterious circumstances. All the same, Zona was completely smitten by this horse thief. He came to the county to work as a blacksmith, which was a much-needed and extremely lucrative trade. He'd actually become well respected in the county for his work. Horse thievery aside. Zona fell for Mr. Shoe upon meeting him, and he was immediately equally smitten with her, much to Zona's mother's dismay, who said that she had a bad feeling about Erasmus from the first time she met him. Mary Jane Robinson Hester, Zona's mother, told her that she didn't trust this man, and she believed that he was hiding something.
Always go with your gut, man.
You should. Well, Zona wasn't the one who had the gut feeling. Her mama did.
No matter, go with your mama's gut.
Mm-hmm. You're probably right. Really should.
I know.
I guess this is the perfect example, too. So, side note, you'll hear a lot about Zona's mom in this episode, as she's a pivotal part of this case. Zona had a huge falling out with her father, who outlived her mother. But in all of the research on this case and poring over articles and other sources, he's never mentioned. Joseph Hester, for whatever reason, didn't ever get involved in any manner whenever it came to Zona's death. So just an interesting fact to me.
Yeah, maybe he was involved.
We'll see.
So just a short 3 months after the wedding, Erasmus sent a neighbor boy named Andy on an errand for him and told him to return to the house when he was done. So the neighbor boy did as he was told, and upon completion of the errand, came to the house and knocked on the door. But the door was already opened.
Ooh, that's always creepy, right? Never a good sign.
I mean, I know if I come home, my door's open, I'll be looking around.
I don't know, but I'd be going in. Well, I don't know. I'm too curious. I would go in probably.
I'm strapped.
I She's strapped. She's good.
Don't come in my house. What?
She said I'm strapped.
I am. I'm not playing.
No, I know you're not. That's
Don't
what
be
makes it
coming.
funny.
Listen.
Listen.
I'm just telling you, don't come in my house when you ain't supposed to be here. That's all I'm saying.
Yes, ma'am.
And here's the worst part. If I shoot you, I'm not going to try to just hurt you. I'm going to kill you.
Shooting to kill.
But if I don't kill you, then I'm going to have to do CPR on you. So just don't come in here.
Yeah, just don't.
It's a lot of work for the both of us. He let himself in. He called out for Erasmus. And when he turned the corner, he found Zona lying face down at the bottom of the stairs.
Yeah.
She was stretched out on the floor, legs together, and with one hand on her stomach and one arm on the floor. Her head was turned to one side, and as 11-year-old Andy approached to see if she was okay, a chill ran down his spine. She wasn't breathing, but her eyes were wide open, as if she was staring right at him.
Dude, that makes me think of Taylor because she actually still does this sometimes, but she sleeps with her eyes open. And if you walked in on Taylor random time, didn't matter what time, her eyes are wide. It was creepy.
Yeah, B does too.
She does?
My daughter, yeah.
Mm-mm.
She does.
Mm-mm.
She usually just has one eye open.
Still creepy, man.
And then, but you know, when people die, it's pretty common that their eyes, like, they stay open. Like, we make it a point to, like, lubricate the eye and hold them down or tape them shut.
To make sure that they stay closed.
And then once they stay closed, we'll take the tape off. So
Interesting. I didn't know that,
it's
though.
more natural.
Hmm.
Yeah. So Andy found her at the bottom of the stairs with her eyes wide open. He promptly ran home to tell his mother, who called the local coroner, Dr. George Knapp. It took him a full hour. Yeah, these people are never in a hurry.
Mm-mm.
It took him a full hour to get to Zona and Erasmus's home, and in that time, Erasmus, who, remember, Andy could not find when he finished doing the errand for him, seemed to have taken it upon himself to move his wife's body.
Ugh.
So he moved his wife's body upstairs to the bedroom and lay her out on the bed. In that community, there was a tradition where other local women would come over, wash the deceased body, and then dress them for burial.
Don't sign me up for that one, man.
Me
Please
either.
exclude me.
I mean, when you say wash the deceased body, like, most people defecate on themselves.
Well, and this was back
have to
in,
clean it up.
you know, the late 1800s, too. So you can only imagine, I feel like, sometimes those bodies' conditions even...
Well, I always find it interesting. Well, yeah, that too. But I always find it interesting because they're like, yeah, because you always have the argument, like, yeah, but they were used to that. Like, that's what they did. Okay, I get it. Like, they had this duty, but that doesn't mean they liked doing it.
I know that's right.
Like, they had certain people that probably every time someone died, if they had to go, they were like, their stomach dropped, like, and it wasn't because they didn't love the person. It's just that wasn't what they wanted to do.
Yeah, for some, it's not for everybody, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I could do it, but I don't want to.
Same. I could, but voluntarily, nah.
Yeah. Ooh. So I'm gonna be busy that day. Okay.
Yeah, me too.
I gotta work. So, anyways, Erasmus, he took over this task, which otherwise was traditionally at this time not his job.
Which is interesting right off the bat.
Yeah. So he dressed her in a high, stiff-neck collar dress, covered her face with a veil. When Dr. George Knapp arrived to examine the body, Erasmus stayed alarmingly close by. He cradled Zona's head, wailing and sobbing in grief over the sudden loss. In fact, his display of grief was so dramatic that Dr. Knapp didn't even do a thorough examination on Zona. So, he did notice some bruising on her neck, which Erasmus quickly concealed with the high neck dress and the veil. But in the doctor's attempt to examine the bruising on Zona's neck further, her husband quickly went into a rage and began violently protesting against any kind of further examination. So the doctor, afraid for his own safety at this point, he backed off and complied with Shu's demand. While there, he did take note that he believed the cause of death to be something called, quote unquote, everlasting faint.
Had you ever heard of this?
No.
Me neither.
It sounds like a made-up bullshit.
Well, here we go. You're about to get into it.
So, everlasting faint was essentially a 19th century term used for a pretty broad range of different causes of death. So, heart attack, any kind of sudden or unexplainable cause of death. It wasn't really a formal term. It was more colloquial or, slang.
We researched to see if we could find if anybody else from this time frame in history had this listed as their actual cause of death on their death certificates, and we didn't find any other historical figures with this listed. So it appears that this was only a working cause of death, if you will.
Working?
Yeah, like working. Yeah, exactly. Like they were determining it. Her official recorded cause of death in his book was childbirth. Now, I did find that it's often misprinted as heart disease, but that's not true. We actually found the coroner's registrar of death, and he wrote it clearly as childbirth. What makes this strange is that there is absolutely zero evidence that Zona was pregnant at the time of her death or that she had ever had a child at any point in her relationship with Erasmus or anyone else.
I mean, I've only had one kid, but I didn't have no bruising on my neck.
Exactly. Like, what? You're kidding
my eyeball. Me. I busted a blood vessel in my eyeball.
When?
When I was giving birth.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't. I mean, I could understand, I guess, how
the whole thing was red. I woke up, I could barely walk. I thought I slept for like 4 hours or 10 hours, really. And then they were like, wakey, wakey.
You're like,
and I was like, and I looked at the clock. I've been asleep for 20 minutes.
What?
And then they made me get up and stand up and walk to the bathroom, and I was wobbly. And I was an athlete at one point, and I was pretty good athlete. Like, I was in good shape.
Mm-hmm.
And I've never felt that weak and wobbly and noodly. And I walked to the bathroom thinking I was going to collapse. That's what they made me do. So I went there and did it, and I remember looking in the mirror, and I was like, oh, gosh, really? And, like, my entire eyeball, it was my left eyeball. It was, like, completely red.
I bet I have a picture of it, actually.
Oh, I'm sure you do.
I'm sure I do. It's on my Facebook. I'm almost positive. I have to go back and look at your eyeball.
Why did you put a picture of me like that on Facebook?
It was me, you, and Bert right after you gave birth. It was so cute. I was proud. I was a proud sister, a proud aunt, man.
She almost passed out.
Okay, so yeah, so zero evidence that she was ever pregnant at her time of death or any time before that. But something else to note here is that the doctor did note that he had been treating Zona in the previous few weeks for quote unquote female trouble. So it's strange, but the only reasonable explanation in my head is that Erasmus must have truly put the fear of God in this man, and he just simply was trying to quickly move on and get out of that house, you know?
So he noted that in the death certificate?
He noted that inside of his own little black book of notes.
Okay. So he did, however, unlike her husband, send someone to inform her family that she had died. But word had spread very quickly about the situation, and 2 dear friends of Zona had already begun to ride out to Meadow Bluff, where Zona's family was from, to deliver the news themselves. Her mother lived in a pretty isolated area about 15 miles away, and as they approached Mary Jane's home with their hats removed and placed over their chest, her mother was heard to say, "The devil himself has killed her."
Mm-hmm.
The next day, on January 23rd, Zona's body was taken by carriage to her mother's home for a wake and a funeral. A small group of neighbors, along with Erasmus, took her to the mountain farm. Erasmus was again noted to be completely overtaken with grief and would not leave Zona's side. More specifically, her head. So all along the bumpy carriage ride to the farm, he insisted that he remained by his wife's head. Zona's body was displayed in the house for a day, and still, her husband stayed with her body the entire time as people came and went, paying their respects and bringing food to her family. A number of them noticed his strange and somewhat erratic behavior. It seemed that he was displaying bizarre mood swings. One moment he was grief-stricken, and the next he was anxious with manic-like energy. He didn't allow anyone to get too close to his wife's body, and he basically stood guard beside her 24/7. He was very suspicious. Don't be suspicious.
Don't be suspicious.
So he was suspiciously still paying extra attention to her neck and her head, pressing pillows and rolled up shrouds beside her head to, quote, help her rest easier.
Which is weird to me anyways, like,
Yeah, and that's maybe because I'm an older sister, and I don't know that she had any siblings, but
she didn't.
I'd be like, leave her alone.
Same.
Leave her alone. Don't touch her again.
Don't be touching.
She's fine. She resting somewhere else. This is just her body.
And that's the thing. Yes, exactly.
So, he also tied a thick scarf around her neck, which he explained away by saying it was her very favorite.
Also weird.
Yeah. So all the attention to her head and neck was really freaking people out. All it ended up doing was making people openly ask more questions and more questions about why. Why is it that he was catering to his dead wife's head and neck? It was also making people question if he had any involvement in her death. So he kind of flipped the script on himself.
He did in his own attempt to hide whatever trauma there was to her head or neck.
Always.
Yeah, all he did was bring more attention to something that otherwise most people probably would have never even noticed.
Or they would have just thought whatever happened. You know, like, everybody
Exactly,
knew that
nobody-
she was found at the bottom of the stairs. Like, okay, she found it on the stairs. But anyways, I don't know. So dumb.
Moron.
Moron. That's our
So
favorite word in this house.
it is, and
Moron.
whoops.
It's better than other words. Dumbass.
Okay, Red.
I can call you dumbass, but it's moron.
Moron's better.
Moron. B says it all the time.
So
Moron.
does Taylor. So do I.
Okay.
Mhm.
I think I started it.
You probably did. Legit. So he was doing a crap job of keeping prying eyes off of his wife's neck. And while he was finally temporarily pulled away from his wife's side, as Zona's body was being placed in the back of the carriage for the journey to her burial site, a neighbor noticed a particular looseness to her head, and it was brought up to her mother. As far as Mary Jane was concerned, she had zero doubt that her daughter had been killed by Erasmus. But she had no proof and no valid reason to request another examination of her daughter's body. During the funeral, Mary Jane took the sheet that was inside of the coffin, and she did intend to return this to Erasmus after the burial, but he insisted that she keep it. So there was a particularly foul odor to the sheet, as you can imagine. So she did what most people hopefully would do, and she washed it. It was then that something very strange happened, and this is where the story starts to shift. According to her, whenever she placed the white sheet in the washing basin, the water turned blood red and then faded back to clear, revealing a large blood stain on the sheet that she could not remove.
So Mary Jane considered this to be an omen of sorts, a message. And she already believed that her daughter had been murdered, and now she believed that this was her daughter trying to communicate with her from beyond the grave. She began to pray every single night for her daughter's spirit to come to her and share the truth about what really happened to her. How did she really die? Zona's mom said that night in February of 1887, Zona came to visit her as she'd been praying for. She told her mother that her husband did kill her and that he was abusive and cruel. She said when she was murdered, he attacked her in a fit of rage because he thought that she didn't prepare any meat for dinner.
Of all the things.
Yeah. Give me my meat.
Mm-hmm.
She said he broke her neck with his bare hands at the foot of the stairs.
Mm.
After this event, Mary Jane had all the proof that she needed to know that her daughter was in fact murdered, and she has now made it her mission to have Zona exhumed and re-examined. She went to speak with a local prosecutor named John Alfred Preston with hopes of convincing him to open an investigation and have her exhumed. She explained to him how her daughter came to her as a spirit and insisted that she was murdered.
And to me, this was a really risky thing to do because if you think about it, this was 1897, and I feel like you could have easily been thrown into like a mental institution for admitting something like this.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know the community, but I feel like people were probably more religious.
So it's an Appalachian community.
Is the spirituality of a spirit coming and speaking to you going to be seen as something satanic?
Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, all she had to do was say, listen, there was bruising all over my daughter's neck the day of her wake and funeral. It's not sitting right. I want her body exhumed and re-examined. Instead, she waited till February. First of all, till February. And then she went and told him that she was visited by her daughter's ghost.
Yeah. So to my surprise, and probably yours too, the prosecutor was just like, Mary Jane, if you're telling me that your daughter came to you as a ghost and told you that she was murdered, then let's do it. Let's exhume her body and get her re-examined.
So was she like highly thought of in that community?
So there was no mention of her being like a higher member of society, nothing at all, but we'll get into why he took her seriously. He sat with her for hours listening to her go on about her story of Zona coming to see her, and he seemed to be genuinely sympathetic. But was it really just the ghost story that interested him in finding the truth? Or was it because she wasn't the only one around town with suspicions about Erasmus and foul play?
Oh, I thought we were going to take a different turn.
Where'd you think we were going?
I thought he was going to be like in love with Mary Jane or something.
Oh, no, not that good. For the exhumation, he brought in Dr. Died in Childbirth to confirm.
I was like, his name's Dr. Died? That's weird.
To confirm that he did a full and thorough examination of Zona's body. And he straight up admitted that his examination was cut short and explained why, which, according to him, was that Erasmus went into a fit of rage. He became belligerent to the point that he scared him away.
So a judge quickly granted a court-ordered exhumation of Zona along with a post-exhumation autopsy. The coroner's jury was assembled, and, fun fact, the autopsy was performed in the local Nichols schoolhouse.
Weird.
Yeah, not far from the cemetery. So the school children were dismissed for the day, and the autopsy was performed.
It's so weird.
Yeah, so it's not really clear why they chose to do the autopsy in the schoolhouse, but they did. It is odd, though. So it's pretty odd that you would choose to open a dead body in an elementary school on a day of school, right? Like
literally in the middle of the day.
She's been dead for a little bit. Like, why can't we wait till the weekend? But whatever. I don't know. Maybe they didn't want to work on the weekend. I don't know.
I'm like, maybe they had a junior mortician program. Who knows, you know?
Like, I don't know. Whatever works, I guess. So when Erasmus was told of the exhumation, he was enraged.
Of course he was.
So he was pissed that it was taking place, right? He was actually forced to be there for the exhumation, and they told him that he must attend or he would be forced to. His response was, they'll never be able to prove that I did it.
Moron.
So if his already peculiar behavior during his wife's wake and funeral weren't enough, as you can imagine, this added more fuel to the already growing fire. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So Zona's body was in near perfect condition. Luckily, the freezing February temperatures kept her body from decomposing quickly.
Which we just talked about this in another case about it mummified it, right? Because of the cold.
Yeah, and you've seen like true crimes where the killer will like turn the air all the way down. So that they can't determine a cause of death. And they really can't. They can, but it can't be as precise.
So another not so fun fact here, the 11-year-old boy, Andy, who found Zona dead, was also required to attend her exhumation, along with a jury of 5 men, court officials, and law enforcement officers.
Her vital organs were examined first, and then to examine the brain, the coroner went to make an incision on the back of the neck. It was at this moment that he discovered her neck was broken. That's not the only thing he found, though. Her windpipe was also compressed, and she had bruises in the shape of handprints on her neck. Her spine had been dislocated between the first and second vertebrae, C1 and C2. Ligaments were torn. Her throat had essentially been crushed. All of this pointed to manual strangulation. So was she tiny? I mean, I'm not tiny, but my husband's really huge, so his hands would easily wrap around my neck. My husband's really big. He's 6'5". His hands would easily wrap around my neck. But anyways, her throat had essentially been crushed. All of this pointed to manual strangulation. The coroner turned to Erasmus saying, "It appears your wife's neck has been broken." To which his reply, once again, was, "They'll never be able to prove that I did it."
His ectoplasm's a little thin, you know what I'm saying? So the jury decided then and there that Erasmus needed to be arrested and stand trial for the murder of his wife,
Hell
Zona.
yeah.
And just wait. He was taken into custody. And side note, for those of you who do not understand what the jury or the coroner's jury is doing here, in the 1800s, whenever forensic science was still in its infancy, local folks would be gathered to assist the coroner in deciding what the official cause of death was in the autopsy of a potential murder victim. Brittany's laughing.
Yeah, I can imagine, like, I mean, think about, so, like, just yesterday, right? There was a terrible murder. But even now, like, you have all these people pointing fingers. What if all these people came down to help determine the cause of death? Like, what? Like, all these people are pointing fingers, or this is what happened, no, this is what happened, and they're arguing, and some are just dumber than crap.
So
and
that's
some
my
of them
thing
are
is I'm like,
smart.
they better have handpicked these 5 people because
Right.
you can't just have anybody's help on something like this.
But also, you know, you get into these weird cases. So let's say me, for example, I work in a certain setting and I surround myself with certain people within that setting. And so sometimes somebody will come in and they have something weird, and then somebody else will say, oh, well, what about this? And then they're actually completely correct because they came from a different background. And so they're more aware of, it's like something that is
Literally out of left
super,
field.
like, well, you know, I was a farmer for 18 years and I know in this situation, like, I remember this happened to me once, but I was lucky because I didn't chop my finger off, or like whatever.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like, if you
Would
don't know,
never
you
come
don't
to
know.
mind.
So, I mean, in some instances, I can see how maybe that would be helpful.
Well, and that was their thought here. They were like, well, several brains coming together, that's considered to be better than one whenever it came to determining the most likely cause of death. So thanks to more accurate forensic science in the 1900s, this practice of calling coroners juries was phased out in the United States. And although it was phased out towards the end of the 1800s, which is about the time that this took place, it's likely that because this crime happened in such a rural area, that the coroner's jury was still in use because of that. They were still common up until 1927 in the UK, but still used if a coroner wanted to have his findings backed up by more than just himself all the way up until the 1980s. It seems strange at first thought, but whenever you think about it, coroners specifically on murder cases are usually under a lot of pressure to get it right, and they're often blamed and sometimes even attacked whenever their findings don't match public opinion. So it's understandable why they may want a few other people there to confirm at least what they have found to be the facts.
So once Erasmus was taken into custody, the community was horrified and angry. The threat of lynching was high, but it didn't appear that a mob was being assembled yet. So he entered a plea of not guilty and was confined to a small, cold cell in the Washington State Prison in Lewisburg. While he was in jail, townsfolk began discussing and digging up his mysterious past. If people didn't already know he was a horse thief, they quickly learned. And they also found out that Zona wasn't his second wife.
Ooh.
So we had mentioned earlier that his last wife had died under mysterious circumstances, but no one realized until now that he also had another wife named Allie Cutlet.
Cutlet. Chicken cutlet.
Yeah.
It sounds good. I'm hungry.
I know, me too. So this makes his total number of previous wives 3, and 2 of them were now dead.
Ooh.
So Allie had divorced him in 1889 while he was in prison for stealing a horse. And if you don't know, obtaining a divorce at this time was unbelievably hard, especially for a woman.
Yep.
But in Allie's case, it helped that he was currently in prison and in court. She testified that he had been violent and abusive. More details also came to light about his second wife, who had died mysteriously. It was learned that this woman, Lucy Ann Tritt, died just 8 months after their wedding.
Golly.
Erasmus said that she died of falling and hitting her head on a rock, but just like the good people of Greenbriar, his last town didn't believe him either.
Of course.
So he quickly packed up and fled town, making his way to West Virginia, where he quickly met and married Zona.
In jail, Erasmus was cheery, strangely cheery. He said all of his grief about losing Zona had faded away within the walls of the prison, and he was focused on finding his next wife.
His next victim.
I know that's right. And he was still a young man, so he had plenty of time to make his dreams a reality. He also told reporters that they couldn't prove a damn thing about him being guilty. with just as stupidly self-incriminating confidence that he had from the very beginning, and to a degree, he was right. The evidence against him was strictly circumstantial. She could have fallen down the stairs and broken her neck. She could have been killed by someone else before he got home. The first death certificate and autopsy showed childbirth as the cause of death, and a good lawyer would surely put the coroner on the stand and grill him to dust. All they had was a bruised and broken neck and a secondhand testimony from the dead victim herself that she made to her mother. The lawyer for the prosecution wasn't so sure that putting Mary Jane on the stand to put forth this evidence was such a great idea. There were plenty of folks in the community who witnessed his odd behavior at the funeral and the wake, how he stood guard over her body and wouldn't let anyone come too close, how he dressed her and prevented anyone from seeing her neck. But the prosecutor ended up deciding to put Zona's mother on the stand. While on the stand, they had her talk about her firsthand experience of how suspicious he acted at the funeral and the wake, and other suspicions that she had from the start of the relationship.
But during cross-examination, in an attempt to make Mary Jane look unreliable, the defense attorney asked her directly about how she had convinced the prosecutor to do the exhumation and told the whole entire truth with tears in her eyes. The defense plan spectacularly backfired. So the jury was zoned in, eyes peeled, completely riveted by Mary Jane's story, and they didn't doubt her, even for a second. So once his attorney realized that the jury were on the edge of their seats, listening intently and empathetically, he dismissed her immediately, but it was too late. So because the defense didn't submit that the ghost story should be struck from the evidence as hearsay, the judge did not tell the jury to exclude it. There was nothing to overrule. Mary Jane was simply telling her own experience and why she was compelled to seek an exhumation. She simply answered honestly, so it was all admissible.
Ooh.
The jury quickly found Erasmus guilty. 10 of the 12 suggested that he should hang, but the law at this time was that it must be unanimous in order to get the death penalty. So he was given life in prison instead.
Which still sucks, by all means.
You're gonna find him a new girl.
In prison.
Uh-huh.
So this verdict was the last straw for an already simmering community, especially those who already believed that he was guilty before the trial. A mob of 15 to 30 men assembled to attempt to lynch Erasmus, and while they were organizing, the police were tipped off by a member of the public that the mob was being formed, and the deputy sheriff decided to take him to the most random place to protect his safety. And that place was the woods. I'm like, why would you pick that? They took him about a mile away from the jail. This makes about as much sense as performing an autopsy in an elementary school, but hey, it worked. The mob never found him, and after camping for about an hour or so, he was transferred to the state penitentiary in Moundville on July 14th. Only 3 years into his sentence, he was killed by the flu epidemic that swept through the penitentiary in March of 1900. He was buried with hundreds of other men in an unmarked grave near the prison. No records were kept of exactly where, though.
Mary Jane swore until her dying day that all she testified about her daughter was true. She passed away in September of 1916 and was buried close to her daughter in Sewell Chapel Cemetery. From the get-go, Mary Jane made it clear to Zona, and possibly others, that she did not like Erasmus. Not to mention, half the town was also suspicious of her son-in-law, and he was exhibiting plenty of suspicious behavior himself, and it doesn't seem like they did anything but ask the coroner if he did a thorough job on the first examination. We know what we believe. How about you?
I'm Ryan.
And I'm Brittany.
And this is Pure Malice into the Paranormal.
When true crime isn't enough, we cross into the unknown.
Until next time. Bye, guys.
See ya.